Good morning. Good morning. Right. So this is what we're going to go through today. I wanted to give you a general overview of the UK market. There's going to be quite a big focus on Brexit because that's pretty much the thing that has dominated the news agenda in the UK for the last 7 months, and it's going to continue probably for another year. Then we're going to deep down into the UK travel industry, and then I'll give you an update on the UK media landscape, traditional print media, consumer magazine, broadcast, digital media, and social media. And then we'll have a look at the new media, which is basically all the social media. But this year especially, we've seen quite an interesting change in the way people use social media for political campaign and for reporting the news as well. I'm pretty sure you've all heard about the scandal on Facebook promoting fake news. Mm-hmm. It's quite interesting. And then very quickly, just a couple of slides on marketing and trade. Right, Brexit and the UK economy. So interestingly, after the after the referendum, the Brexit referendum, the market slumped, but they recovered very quickly. And this is still something that we think is temporary, and until Article 50 is triggered, there is absolutely nowhere to know and predict what's going to happen. But as a result, the value of the sterling is now lower, so it's good for the UK economy in terms of business and export. But that also means that purchasing foreign currency has become a lot more expensive, which affects the UK travellers.
There's something going on?
Someone's talking. So the next 2 years are going to be crucial, and that's when the UK is going to try and define their relationship with the rest of Europe. They have, as you know, they have 2 years from June to trigger Article 50. And after Article 50 is triggered, I think there's another couple of years until it takes effect and the UK effectively leaves the Europe. Right, sorry. So tourism, outbound tourism, does reflect the GDP, which is a good thing, as the UK is still the fastest growing economy in Europe. It is growing now at its fastest rate than it has been in the last 6 years. And the Bank of England has forecast a GDP growth of 2.1% for 2016. It's not huge, but still a little bit something. Unemployment is falling, and now is only at 4.8%. But this is, we think, attributed to the rise of flexible working and zero-hour contracts. And the inflation currently sits at 0.9% as of October, and is expected to increase next year and beyond, to reflect the change in the currency. So Brexit and travel, how does that actually going to affect the travel industry? It is going to impact not only the British, but the European and global travel industry. And it has been one of the most discussed topics this year. The majority of British are afraid that their holidays is going to cost more next year in 2017 because the pound is lower, but also because they expect tour operators, airlines to rise their prices as a result. Having said that, 2/3 of them have expressed concerns about their holiday for 2017, but 70% have said it's not going to change their plan. So there is some good outcome here. And not only not affect their decision to take a holiday, but also no impact on where they're planning to go. So this is just, economically, there is a slowdown in foreign exchange as people don't buy as much foreign currency as they used to. And aviation especially is expected to be hit by Brexit because they have direct costs that are reflected. So pricing fuel and aircraft leases are going to be more expensive, and there will be impact. And we've seen it. I can't remember which one. I think Ryanair has already cut some routes to Europe, and Monarch as well reduced some services just to try and balance their costs. So, what is going on in the UK travel industry? 86% of Britons say they took a holiday either at home or abroad in the last 12 months, so in the 12 months leading to August, which is a lot more than last year, where only 77% of Britons took a holiday. That includes holiday in the UK and abroad. So that's the largest proportion of Britons having taken a holiday since 2011. The average number of foreign holidays has also grown, so from 1.2 to 1.5 in the previous year. So it now has stabilized a little bit, and in 2016, the average foreign holiday was 1.4 per person. And that represents 56% of people taking a holiday abroad compared to 54% in 2015. So quite similar to last year. And the 25 to 34-year-old and 55 to 64-year-olds are the age groups that take the most foreign holidays. And I think that can basically be explained by that's the two groups that don't have small children. Mm-hmm. And 13% of both groups said they took more than 4 holidays abroad during the year. Interestingly, more than a quarter of all holidaymakers said that they are very likely to visit a country they've never been to before, compared to 18% that said that last year. But 29% said that they will go on holiday to a new city or a new resort in a country that they have already visited, which is up from 23%. So up to 23% from last year. So in terms of who they travel with, about half of the travelers go on holiday with their partner or their immediate family. And a trend that has been growing in the last few years is going on holiday with your extended family. So a big group of family traveling together. So from outside the household. So you have grandparents, cousins, uncles, all traveling together. And this hasn't changed since 2015. So more than 82% of people who went on an extended family holiday said that they did that to spend quality time together. City breaks are still the most popular holiday in Great Britain. And every single person that's been asked for this specific survey have been on at least one city break in that year. And half of them, 44% of them, said that they are planning to take another city break in the next 12 months. The second most popular holiday is a beach, even though you can see that it's really regressing from 50% last year to 38%. Quickly, so what do the British people think of Emilia-Romagna? We're starting to see a little bit more recognition. We've been working to grow the destination profile, but although they still don't really know where to put it on a map, they're starting to recognize the entity of the region, the name, and they identify the region. It's also, interestingly, And it kind of like ties in with that figures that I just gave you of people wanting to go back to the same destination but to different city. We've noticed in the newspapers and coverage that there is a certain fatigue from the journalists and the consumers about reading about the same places, and journalists have been trying to go a little bit outside of the most common places, and we'll have a lot more requests for, okay, Tuscany's been done, dusted, where can we send our readers that will have an equivalent great experience, but maybe less done. We'll still have a lot of recognition for the cities, Bologna, Parma, and Rimini particularly, and I think it is because it's part of the most general trend in the UK for more active holidays. So healthy living, activity, etc. are very big, and Emilia-Romagna is starting to get positioned as a nice alternative, healthy place to go on holiday.
Despite Parma.
There you go. That there's absolutely no doubt that everybody in the UK is very aware of the food products that come from Emilia-Romagna, and food is still a major focus for UK travellers. Motorvalet is a strong brand. British people are car lovers, and with many car shows on TV, many car festivals, this is something that resonates very well with the British traveller. And that's something that we've been doing for years, and we continue doing to position and to talk about Emilia-Romagna as being the quintessentially Italian, offering the best of everything. Cool. So media update. There's been, it's not a static market, the media market in the UK. It's changing very quickly. There's a lot of...
If we have questions in the first part, because we have sorry.
Non avete detto all'inizio? È una registrazione, le domande le facciamo alla fine dopo la registrazione.
All questions and answers, yes.
I didn't know.
So UK national newspapers market is falling still every year. That's 8% again this year. And the Sunday market is declining even faster than the rest. That's 47% down in the last 10 years for Sunday newspapers, which is quite huge. Having said that, the national newspapers remain the UK largest market. And regional newspapers have continued to get consolidated, which means that we also have a very strong offering in the regions, and quality offering, actually. The decline, it's just going to keep declining. It's very unlikely that we're going to see a revival of UK newspapers because 46%, almost half of the under 24, do not read a newspaper or magazine at all. I'm talking about physical. And in March this year, The Independent and Independent on Sunday have ceased their print edition and have moved 100% online. But moving online might be the future of the newspaper, and the Sunday Times has published a new travel site outside the paywall. So the Times and the Sunday Times were protected by a paywall, which means that you had to subscribe in order to access online articles. And earlier this year, the Sunday Times has decided that actually they wanted to create a dedicated travel section outside of the paywall, which means that reading travel articles online is still quite popular. The Telegraph has completely revamped their website to offer a better online proposition. But all is not bad, because this month the Times is relaunching their luxury print supplement, Lux, which had ceased for maybe 6 or 7 years and is now coming back. So there is movement. It just depends on the newspapers. It's just becoming a bit more specialist. Consumer magazines are also in decline, but not as badly as the newspapers. Some monthly women's magazines are actually increasing their readership. Long established consumer magazines, such I think is Good Housekeeping, is actually seeing their figures up. That's really good. But the ones that are suffering are the weekly women magazines, whose circulation is down by 20-30% year on year. But the growth of the free magazines is continuing. Magazines like Stylist, Shortlist, Escapism, Foodism, they are very popular, their circulation is growing, and they have a very interesting business model in the sense that they're not just a free magazine, they are trying to establish themselves as lifestyle brands. So Stylist is the first one who started it, and Shortlist, it's the same family publication, is following through. Stylist has launched an annual consumer show. So it's absolutely huge. I think it's at the Excel, not as Excel, sorry, Olympia Exhibition Center, and it's just a huge consumer show that they put together with cooking advice, fashion advice, and lots of stands, etc. And the second one was in October, and it's very, very popular. So linear TV consumption is falling, and at a very, very fast rate, 6% down year on year. And this is due to younger audiences looking for different content, and that would be consumer content online, and that includes things like Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube, that are just growing and getting more and more popular. So that means that the general broadcast consumption is up. It's just linear TV that is going down, because consumers are just more, not difficult, they're more demanding and will actually want to find exactly what they want rather than being given to them. And socially curated, smartphone-based, short-form, amateur videos are basically form the basis of entertainment for young adults. But 45% of television watchers will watch with their children, and more than half of them will let the kids choose what they want to watch. So our existing habits still determine the content that we watch, and the time spent watching TV might be decreasing, but on-demand content is a valued family entertainment, and it is still very popular. And that you can see it. Some of the most popular shows in Britain in 2016 were very family-oriented shows, something like Britain's Got Talent, The Great British Bake Off, The Voice, and Strictly Come Dancing were all four in the top 10 of most popular shows. So digital media, on average, mobile adds a further 94% audience reach to individual news and brand footprints. So for every print brand, having that online reach is crucial, because it almost doubles their reach. And despite falling print circulations, the online versions of newspapers are one of the most commonly used platforms for people looking for headlines. However, only 14% of online newspaper readers believe they offer content that they could not get elsewhere. So that's a little bit bad news for the newspapers. That means that only 14% of their readers think that what they are given by the newspaper is unique, whereas the rest says, well, it's good, but I could find the same kind of news elsewhere. So in terms of brand loyalty, that's different. In terms of news consumption, it doesn't matter. And 28% of those getting their news from Twitter. And now more than half of the UK population owns a tablet, so it has forced publishers to create not only online solutions like websites, but also digitally crafted tablet-based magazines and newspapers. Social media, it's just fascinating to see the change of how people use social media. And in the last, 7 years that it's been on our radar as a PR agency, we've seen the use of social media radically change. It's fascinating, and it changes really quickly. So 13% of online bookers use social media in their travel research process. And that's interesting. That means Facebook, YouTube, Twitter have become actually essential in terms of what are becoming essentials in terms of travel research. The most popular reason for UK consumers to use social media is to find out what friends are doing, which is also relates to the influence that group of friends have on each other, and how the word of mouth has now become crucial in terms of holiday choice and holiday destination. And you can tell it's, I don't know, from, I actually had people telling me that they've decided to go to a destination because they saw their friend's picture on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Then that's it. That was the click was that. Facebook continues to develop. It is still the most mainstream social media product in the UK. It is for the British consumers, but again, there's been a massive shift in demographics using Facebook. Facebook is not really for the young, cool kids anymore. It's moved, and the age gap, I think, it's not in here, but I think the average age of the Facebook consumers in the UK is 35, and 39% of those over 55 are the most active on Facebook. So just a few figures here. So UK platform, so it's not the international figures, it's just Facebook UK has 31 million users. Those figures are not, there is another set of figures which are the active users, so this is just generic. So 31 million UK users, Twitter has 15 million UK users, and 80% of them accessing by mobile rather than desktop. Instagram has 14 million of users in the UK, and that's where you see the shift. People who used to be on Facebook are now on Instagram. 90% of users on Instagram UK are under 35. And there are 1 billion YouTube users worldwide. No, they don't do geographic split. And half are over 35-year-old. So it's actually very interesting, because you can also, if you look around and see in your circle of friends, you can see that split. because YouTube, I guess, is more similar to what linear TV used to be. It still attracts quite, and it's quite a static format. YouTube, it's good quality crafted video, maybe a longer content, bigger content, whereas the type of Instagram videos, Snapchat, Periscope has much younger group of age. And the younger audiences are being described as the visual generation, or Generation Z for all the people born after 1999. And they will consume images, videos, photos, like very few words. Can't even write. Right, new media. So that was just a snapshot of figures and things. New media, what's happening with new media? Has new media replaced the traditional news outlet? Is that a new news platform? Well, we've seen that Facebook is very different from traditional mainstream media like TV and press. But what makes it unique is that it is a living, developing organism which has evolved from being a global friendship platform to a network into a news outlet and debating forum. And that was so obvious, first, on a national level with the Brexit referendums, people falling out with each other, like huge debates on Facebook, just like it was absurd. And then it became even bigger with the US elections and obviously the scandal of fake news, but also is there a problem with algorithm? Does that mean that some sort of Facebook users will only see some sort of news because the algorithm will analyze or find out or guess their political orientation and therefore only offer a certain type of news? And then obviously the fake news, which were flowing the system.
Facebook scandal, because I'm not really.
Oh yes, of course. So there's two things. There were two things that happened that, I'm pretty sure it's been existing for a long time, but it really appeared during the US election. So the first thing was Facebook was accused of showing users only the type of news that were from their political opinion by creating an algorithm that they have so many algorithms on Facebook, but apparently there's one that analyzes your comments, what you read, what you see, and therefore analyze your political opinion and would only offer news items that would be related to your news opinion.
And consolidation.
And
consolidation.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So completely biased. The second scandal was the fake news scandal, where apparently hackers not hackers, young students in Europe, mainly based in Europe, will create fake news sites. And I'm not too sure of the technology or how they did it, but so by creating fake news sites, somehow those sites ended up being linked to Facebook, and by putting very shocking headlines, encouraging people to click through this news fake website and just generating more money for the people who created the fake sites. The problem is that Facebook were not able to identify fake news from real news, and it might have skewed some voters or some people in their opinion. So that's two things. But now there's like a more important question that I think is being asked is it really Facebook's role to be a news provider? Like, Facebook is not a news website. All they do is, showing links on the side. So is it their responsibility to have an editorial conscience? Who knows? Maybe it will be in the future, but that's not how it was built initially. So that's something that is happening and that they're looking at the moment. So the mainstream media is brilliant at reporting major news, such as royal wedding, terrorist attack, etc. But when it comes to reporting the real world outside of that bubble, it absolutely failed. And mediums like Facebook, which, as I said, came into in the light by providing a window on a world that is not covered by the mainstream media, and that also the mainstream media do not understand. They cannot. So, I don't know, maybe because it's a forum-based Facebook, it's not as politically correct and as sanitized as what a mainstream newspaper would be, and therefore they don't understand what really is going on that little platform. So, example, the mainstream media does not do complex micropolitics very well. Social media like Facebook had a huge influence in winning the election for Trump, as I explained, as it gave a populist movement a political voice when the vast majority of the American media were hopelessly biased against him and are now in denial. Yes. The rise of live video. So live online video has shot unexpectedly to the top of the media industry's priority this year. And Twitter's Periscope app is a perfect fit. This is aspiration to be the best possible live connection to culture for users. Twitter will no longer just be a place to discuss what you are watching on TV, but will become the place where you're actually watching things directly. And Facebook's own live video launched last year in 2015. The newsfeed of the Facebook Live of 1.6 billion users provide a huge audience for the live video to play out through. And Facebook is or has recently launched a new application that will allow mobile device to play Facebook Live. I mean, not just mobile, but wide range of services and devices. So live online video takes many forms. It can be professional broadcast from studios, it can be behind-the-scenes footages, it can be citizen journalism, and it can be, of course, people just sharing random moments in their life. But a growing problem for the video social platforms is not people's willingness to watch video. People want to see video, they want to consume content. It's their ability to produce that content. Basically, you've got a lot more people wanting to watch video than you have people able to create good quality video content. And news feeds are increasingly dominated by video posts, but very few actually come from your friends. I mean, setting up, recording, uploading a video is a much bigger task than just taking a picture and putting it on Facebook. And it does require a bit more thought and effort that people are willing to put into. Obviously, and that also includes the pressure of producing good content. So there's up and down, and I'm pretty sure with the development of the technology, I mean, it's becoming more and more easy to be a good videographer or good photographer. You don't really need much training anymore, at least not for that sort of video format. So having said that, so which platforms should you be targeting? Obviously video. This is just, I mean, in a way, it shows that, illustrates the fact that people are not really reading anymore. They're just watching video and photos. And particularly through YouTube and Facebook, which are the older audience demographics that are suited for the destination. But now even Instagram has launched their own little video content. It's more aligned with Snapchat, as in the sense that it's temporary. No, it's not temporary, but the video don't last. You just take the video, and then people watch it, and then it disappears from your feed. But it's interesting because Snapchat is still very young audience. Very few people my age use Snapchat. It's just one more platform. It's just yeah, and it's just a bit too fleeting. But Instagram, who has a slightly older demographic, by launching their own video feed, has tapped into that slightly older demographic audience. And lifestyle blogs. There's been a huge shift towards more generalist blogs, and I've seen this. It started last year, as in 2015, and this year we've particularly seen it, like when talking with clients or bloggers. There is a lot more appetite for more generalist blogs, and niche blogs will still have a place, but travel is not a niche. Now, travel is not just travel anymore, it's a whole experience, and lifestyle blogs do that much better than traditional travel blogger. Because the appetite of the audience, when they look for travel ideas or travel inspiration, they don't want a travel expert. Actually, it's funny because I had this discussion with a travel blogger. He's like, but I don't understand why do brands want to work with lifestyle? I mean, we travel experts. Like, they don't want, like, consumers, they don't want travel experts anymore. They want someone who can sell them an experience. And if you're a lifestyle blogger, you're able to look at, I don't know, fashion, the food, the design, the shopping, all these sort of things that travel blogger can do, but have restricted themselves not to. Actually, also really good example. Last month, I was in the UAE with bloggers. It was just to be a normal press trip, but one of the bloggers was actually a blogger. She's lifestyle with quite strong fashion. And what she did, obviously, she did all the travel things and the videos and the aircraft review, etc. But what she did is, like, we had an excursion in the desert, and she had this really big bag with her. She's like, but why do you need so much stuff? I'm just literally going to be in the sand for the half a day. And she had packed some beauty products that she gets sent and that she reviews as part of her job. And she decided to do a photo shoot of all the product brands there on the sand, like during the trip, which was amazing because people that I would have never thought of targeted now saw that video of Josie in a desert, like looking very pretty with like her hairspray or whatever. And because the way she shot it, there is my destination. And people can see her like, oh, that looks nice, where is she? And then they can see where she was when she did the photo shoot. It's just something that a lifestyle blogger will think of doing, and a bonus, a value added that you would not get with traditional, straightforward travel reviews.
You know Chiara Ferragni?
Who?
Chiara Ferragni, the blonde salad.
No, I don't. Is she UK based?
Well, she's everywhere. Like, she lives, I think, in Milan and then New York and Miami and all.
What do you say her name is? The blonde salad?
Chiara, the blonde salad.
I'll look her up. Yes. So how do we work with social media influencers? Oh yeah, the other shift that we've noticed, like, they're not just bloggers anymore, they are social media influencers. And it's crazy, in the last 6 months, like the word influencers is just everywhere and has basically replaced any other word like bloggers or vloggers or anything else. So the key is to engage with a diverse number of influencers that will amplify different messages via their own channels. The key messages need to be covered across all communications. The interesting thing, obviously, everything is always about building relationship with media, with influencers. So we always look at whether there is an opportunity to create a long-term relationship with these influencers rather than just a one-off engagement, because that having that long-term relationship will just create a lot more benefit in the long term. And it is also worth considering the opportunity to promote influencer engagement through paid tactical support. Always something to look at, not necessarily at first, but there is good amplification that can be done for rather small investment. It's very important to brief the influencers. It's not really anymore about, you're a really good influencer, come to my destination and do whatever you want. We're just very happy with what you can produce at the end of it. We need to give them a crisp, creative brief. Not necessarily telling them what to do for us, but the sort of outcome that we would like to have. Just to guide them. It's just more like a guide rather than, a set contract, obviously, but always trying to maximize the investment. And people will want to engage with these influencers because of their affinity, but because they also give something interesting in these channels. Yeah. So some, actually it's funny, I did change that section after having finished it because I just received a report on PR trends for 2016. And there are some really, really interesting tips. Some of them are very obvious, but some others, quite interesting, and that's something that I wanted to share with you. Some tips for UK media, for relation with UK media. This hasn't really changed, but I thought it would be interesting to give a quick reminder. Keep the pitch simple. Whether it's on email or on the phone, if the journalist doesn't get the story in 3 seconds, that's not even worth talking even longer. Or the 5 first lines of an email. It has to be to the point. Make sure the pitch is useful. So obviously it has to be pitching to the right person, but if you have a strong story, you have to be confident and know that you've got something useful for the journalist. And at the end of the day, journalists need PR as much as we need them. Know when to pitch. Again, it's quite interesting. There is still most, traditional newspapers will have their print deadline, their morning editorial conferences, where they decide what they're going to talk about during the day. But because the shift is now more online and social media, deadlines are disappearing, and it's just about trying to find the right moment to talk to the right person. Don't neglect the human element. A story is always better said through a person because people relate to people. Make your pitch stand out. That sounds obvious, but there was actually very good examples. So stories with added value will always spark interest. So, for example, you have a new hotel opening. We do a press release about that. Instead of just sending a press release, how about we add a competition to win a stay in that hotel? And the journalist who sees that press release is like, oh, another hotel opening. Like, oh, hold on, there's something of interest in my readers here. I will use that story rather than that other hotel opening or that other 100 hotel opening press releases that he's got in his inbox today. So competition for staying somewhere, access to the CEO or a representative from that hotel, anything that will give the journalist something more that he could have gotten with just a press release. So that's how you make your pitch stand out. Well, demand for video content is growing. We've seen that. It is obviously a very important format, but it still has to be used tactically. So not anywhere all the time. I mean, a video news or video release will have to have the same reason to exist than a press release. It has to be in news, it has to be relevant, it has to bring something else. Bring value through access kind of like relates to standing out. PRs are still the key people that will allow journalists to get access to CEOs, directors, spokespeople. And last one is media brands are increasingly open to branded content. That's just a very nice way to say that editorial and branded content are becoming more and more blended. So promotional, so you'll have promotional content. So brands will get in touch with a newspaper publication to create something that will look like editorial, but will be branded. And newspapers are, and not just newspapers, actually websites, will have these sections of, it's not really advertorial anymore, it's branded content that is still clearly branded. I mean, you're not tricking anyone, but it will be branded content that have an editorial feel, touch, yes. How do we distribute news? That still hasn't really changed. It's more about how we formulate it and who we talk to and when we talk to these people. So direct media settings are still the most efficient ways to pitch a story. As a company, as an agency, we hardly use press releases anymore. We do tailored pitches. Or if we have a press release, we use the content from the press release, a paragraph, and send it to whoever needs it when they need it. Because that's the key. So when you send a press release, you send it to everybody at, let's say, a Monday or Tuesday morning. But having that content available for whenever someone asks you something, or you saw a journalist tweeting about, let's say, I was thinking about going to Australia next year. Brilliant. You know if they are receptive to going to Australia, so boom, you just like grab a paragraph from the latest press release, send it to them. And that's how...
So you're not sending press releases anymore to many journalists, and you're just sending them specifically?
No, we are still sending press releases to many journalists because because that is still useful in terms of brand awareness. Like they need to see
positioning.
Yeah, the positioning, and they would expect regular updates.
Okay.
But there's also and also because we have this press release, it's very useful because then you just need to take bits and pieces. Yeah. So press releases, short, snappy, no more than 1 page of A4, concise, but full of information. No marketing, no brochure language. It has to be written in the same way that the journalist will use it, pretty much. And include a call to action. I mean, press release at the end of the day, yes, are for news, but we also want people to take action on that news by including a call to action. And I know it's sometimes difficult with government, city and tourist boards, but that's how you're going to encourage people by just giving them, oh, you like that news about that destination, that product, that hotel, this is how you can look at it for yourself, so website, phone number, etc. And newsletters are that's the ones that we are not really using anymore. Because if you are good about your press releases, as in you only send interesting news-related press releases, if you are on top of your job about direct media sellings, the newsletters are just, a summary of all that. So it will just be, seasonal and newsletters won't have call to actions either, which makes them less useful. Press trips are still very important for the UK media. So for group, you have group trips, individual press trips. Some newspapers will not go on group press trips because they would rather have their own story, and they don't want other newspapers to get the same story. But I mean, the rule hasn't changed. Group trips, no more than 4 or 5 people. Everything should be paid for, all food, all drink, and all attraction. No partners. And as I said, top national newspapers will be unlikely to join group trips because they want their own story. But to be fair, that's never really been a problem because group trips are really good for consumer magazines, for regional magazines, and you still end up with very good quality content. Individual and also group trips are easier to organize because you have one itinerary for everybody. Logistically, it is good in terms of organization and benefits. Individual press trips, only B&B accommodation, only breakfast and overnight accommodation and travel to the destination needs to be provided. You would expect the journalists to pay for at least their lunches. Activities that are important to the story should be included, so it has to be itineraries have to be very specific, very tailored to the type of publication that goes. Yes, include a couple of meals, but not necessarily all of them. And I mean, this is kind of changing. I know of some tourist boards more and more often are drawing the line to not bringing friends or partners. Traditionally, and because journalists in the UK have to take holidays to go on press trip, even though it's technically work, we have allowed them to take a wife or friend or partner with them.
Son
or son, yeah,
yes,
exactly. Sometimes when it is important to the story, yes. I mean, if you pitch to, Cosmopolitan, a romantic couple city break, you would expect them to bring a partner so they can actually, experience the story. If it's a family story that you're pitching, you would accept, yes, the couple and their kids. I mean, not 6 kids, but 1 or 2. Fine. So itineraries need to be relevant and tailor-made, but also needs to include free time, because a good journalist will, have their itinerary, experience the destination, but then start, looking around, and they might, come up with an idea for an extra article, and that's why it's important to have free time. Free time is not for them to have a nap in their hotel room, although some will, but a good quality journalist will use that free time to get more story or more value out of it. Another example, and I can't remember if I mentioned this last year, but it's still, that journalist not only is a good friend of mine, but is also a very, very good journalist. Last time we were in Denmark, so it was a group trip, so we had an itinerary, and everybody was doing the same thing. And I think he'd come with a commission from the Mail on Sunday initially. And then during the trip, he started talking to the guide, and then started talking to people in the street. We were in that little village in Denmark, and he found out that this little village had an amazing story during the Second World War. So Denmark was neutral, wasn't it? I think. So during the second, well, no, because they were Nazis. Oh, I can't exactly remember, but during the Second World War, a Nazi official in Copenhagen found out that all the Jews were going to get collected and sent in concentration camps. So he alerted some of his Danish friends, who then activated their network, and as many as they could, all the Jews gathered in that little fishing village just across the coast of Sweden. And all the fishermen, all the villagers gathered all their boats and managed to get, I don't know, thousands of people out to Sweden before the troops came to the village. And he found out that story just by, in his free time, talking to people. And then he ended up doing 3 pages, because it also happened to be the anniversary, or it was 2014 or 2013.
He's passing very quickly.
Second. Oh yeah, no, 44, 60 years. It was 60 years, I think, 2014. And he ended up doing 3 pages in The Independent. And obviously the destination was featured and the hotel where he stayed. And that's the kind of people that you want on press trip. And that's why free time is important. Also important is to experience the destination as a member of the public. Sometimes people are a bit tempted to put together special itineraries for journalists, but if their readers cannot do the same thing, there's no actual point of doing that. It has to be available to buy and to experience for the readers as well as the journalists. Okay, in terms of deadline, invitations should be sent at least 2 months in advance. Final itinerary should be in, I mean, it says a week here, but that's a bit tight. 2 weeks. 2 weeks is better. Just so we can, spot. I don't know. Maybe spot things that we know the journalist going the press trip's not going to like, so it gives us time to alter it if necessary. Make sure the trips are fun. Doesn't mean that it's not work, but it has to be, a little bit. It has to be a good experience, because, as I said, journalists take that time as holiday, and even though it's work, we want them to have a good, fun experience so they can write about it. That's easier for like short-haul destination like ours, so that's good. But trips should also always fall over a weekend and be only 1 or 2 days on each side out of the office, so that minimizes the amount of time they have to be out of the office. If flights are earlier than 9 a.m., you would expect to provide transfer from their house to the airport or overnight accommodation, and that's specific to London. If we have regional journalists flying from Manchester or Birmingham, that's not the case, but because London is so huge and it takes, I don't know, on average, for no matter where you are in London, at least, I don't know, an hour and a half to get to the airport. If a flight is before 9, there is no public transport. So that's why we have to be careful about that. And the last point is always to ensure good quality accommodation, which doesn't mean it has to be luxury accommodation, but something that will have a nice feel or feel a bit special. Events, media events. UK media are invited to a lot of events, constantly invited to events. But as they are increasingly stuck behind their desk and unlikely to attend, for the best possible turnout, we have to, bear a couple of things in mind. And so there's always should be a reason for the event, a big announcement or a gathering of people that are not normally in the UK. So again, it's like bringing access to the journalists, and if they give an access to people that they don't normally have access to, they are more likely to come. Obviously, that's very common sense. Check that no other events are taking place the same day. In terms of the best day for media attendance, Monday and Tuesdays are the best, because Wednesday is a print deadline for Saturday newspapers and Thursday for Sunday newspapers. And Friday, they just want to go home. Any speeches should be kept to 5 minutes maximum and should be in English. Again, example, actually it was a really good example because one, I hadn't seen the itinerary, well, for that specific day until the morning, and when I saw it, so it was that same press trip last month to the UAE, and when I saw it, I suddenly realized that they had put 2 45 minutes presentations back to back for the journalists. Yes, that was not going to happen. So it gave us very, very short time, but the 2 45 minutes presentation suddenly became 10 minutes each. There was no way you're going to get a group of, I mean, and then we're not even British, they were international journalists, and no way you're gonna have French, Italian, British sit down for half an hour to go through a PowerPoint presentation. So 5 minutes, great. And if it's 5 minutes each, that's okay, as long as no more than 15 minutes max. And she'll be in English, well, that makes sense too. That's for British media, I think. To make sure that drinks are served everybody immediately upon arrival. So you serve the drinks first, then you have the speeches, and I mean, depending on how long the speeches are, we tend normally in the UK to serve the canapes and the food after the speeches. And yes, unfortunately, a normal average dropout rate is about 25%. So if you do an event for 10 people or 20 people, you have to make sure that you have at least 25 RSVPs. Yeses. Right. So what we think is going to happen in 2017? The search for meaning, apparently, is what is going to dominate the news agenda for 2017, well, the PR tactics for 2017. The world is becoming a bit less secure and a little bit unreliable, so meaning about everything, meaning of life, meaning of everything is going to be important. Continued technology and real-world convergence are important. Consumers' interest in purpose-driven brands could lead to more brand-led movement making. So if a brand has a purpose, like not just selling a product, but a greater purpose, that would lead to movements, brand-led movements. So, for example, people coming together around big issues to drive the social change on a local, national, and even international scale. And this means that brands have to think even more carefully about creating campaigns that connect with people's humanity. So by being driven, the brands will connect with people's humanity and people will associate more with this brand. Technology is obviously huge. I mean, it's not just virtual reality now and alternative reality, but artificial intelligence is quite an exciting development. Yes. Absolutely, yes. That's been huge. It's been pretty much every week in London. There's events offering VR reality, and for destination, obviously that works. That works very, very well. Earlier this week, Amazon did their first drone delivery in the UK.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea if he's actually received it, but that was not on the radio. While media, news, and reputation will always be at the core, the ability to drive behavior change through connecting communities is also going to be a big trend. And lastly, digital natives are increasingly bypassing traditional media and for everything, for their news, for their information, etc. And bloggers, vloggers, online personalities are increasingly influencing their purchasing decision. What's next? So 2016 taught us that we live in a very unpredictable environment. There are some big challenges yet to arrive, but when it comes to the impact of Brexit, the imminent Trump presidency, or rapidly advancing technology, basic rules remain the same. Keep calm, stay authentic, and keep the message consistent. Right. This is just a reminder of marketing and trade in the UK. Hasn't changed since last year, so I'm going to go through it quite rapidly. So what the UK expects from tourist boards, from a PR perspective, journalists expect the tourist board to be the first point of contact with the latest news, information, and help facilitate trips, as well as providing obviously a broad range of themes and destinations. From a trade perspective, the tourist board is seen as the conduit to increase visitor numbers through the UK trade. So UK trade would expect the tourist board to have a clear vision strategy in the UK, but to be the tourist board, the person that build and maintain the relationship with the trade and sit between the partners and the operators. So having that intermediary is going to be very important, because the UK trade will expect the tourist board expert to put them in touch with what is relevant to their business. So they would expect the tourist board to work with them to put them in touch with the relevant partners, not necessarily the other way around. I mean, the other way around obviously should exist and does exist, but that's what the UK trade expects. Like a UK journalist would expect the tourist board to give them what they need when they need it, the UK trade will expect the tourist board to give them or to make appointments with what they need when they need it. So engagement with the operators at a destination level, so top level. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily destination level. It can be themes or topics, but it has to be top level. And show them how they can improve their own program. Again, parallel to the UK journalist, UK journalists will expect the tourist board to help them improve their content in order to give their readers the best service. UK tour operators will expect the tourist board, and not their partners, the tourist board, to help them improve their content for their customers. And then, when that relationship is built, when the trust is built, the information, then you can bring in partners that will have more refined, more detailed information and product services. So, like the second point is again, it's about timing. You know, you only introduce UK trade to the specific partners when they need it, not just impose it on them, if you know what I mean. So it's about creating marketing opportunities and also being honest with the partners. And it's very difficult conversation, but sometimes it might not be relevant to a market or a destination. And we have to be realistic. That's it.
Thank you.